Beyond Limitations. I'm Steve Bowman.
I'm Shetisa Bowman.
And
good morning from Australia.
Good morning. And we are about to bring Martina onto screen any minute now with magic. And there she is. Hi, Martina.
Hi.
Good morning,
Hi, Martina. Good evening from Italy today.
Oh, you're in Italy today. Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm in Italy today. And it's 9 o'clock in the evening.
6 o'clock in the morning here in Brisbane. So the beauty of time. So Beyond Limitations is our conversation that we're having today. And what we'd be very interested in hearing from you, Martina, is what does Beyond Limitations mean to you, and in particular the school that you've set up, the School Beyond Limitations. What does Beyond Limitations mean to you?
Well, Beyond Limitations means going, not limit oneself, going beyond any possible imagination. So if there's something you dream of, or you have a vision that you actually believe in, being able to putting that into practice and not being constrained by, what people may say to you, this is not possible because of this, or because of the legal situation, or because of what may people think about, right? And this is not common sense or whatsoever. Of course, I mean common sense in the sense that you always operate in a field which brings good to oneself and to others. That's for sure, that it's based on ethical foundations and groundings. That's important. And School Beyond Limitations is actually all about that, giving space to students so that they can really garden, so to say, harvest their flowers and their seeds, what are inside them, so that they don't get kind of limited, by opinions from the outside, so that they actually get guided towards fields that they may imagine in themselves, and sometimes the outside world may say to them it's not possible. No, and we say in School Beyond Limitations, we make it possible. Let's see what we can create, what we can generate together. So that's Beyond Limitations.
See?
Yeah. So the whole thing there is that Beyond Limitations, and you're living proof of this, is actually being the energy and being that possibility that there don't have to be limitations unless we put them in place, and that there's millions of ways of doing something as long as we don't have a fixed point of view about what exactly it should look like. One of the things I love about what you're doing, Martina, is that you use the educational system in a way that others haven't thought of. You're actually using the ability to move between countries and the possibility of creating connections that don't go away when you move countries. How have people found that?
Well, people, especially people and families who are moving constantly from one place to another, they find it very appealing, because they say, finally, we have found a context where we don't have to always change, right, school setting, and now we can stay in the school. School is coming with us, and that creates a lot of freedom for the families. So from that point of view, of course, School Beyond Limitations is new, but it's not only new in the sense of not being tied to any geographical frontiers and borders. It's also new in the sense that we go beyond limitations with regards to our growth in different ways, not only in intellectual ways, also in personal ways, in entrepreneurial ways. So we put a lot of emphasis also on personal development, because we all know that children, they actually, when they play as youngsters, they are so free. They feel themselves free. They don't tie or cut down their space because they just want to discover. And then they come into settings like it starts slowly but surely in the school, in elementary school, less in elementary school, but the further they go, they get directed towards just performing because of tests, because of a competition, because of the focus of what you want to become when you will be older, right? And you have to perform somehow and outperform somehow. And what that creates with children and with students sometimes, that they have to, and we know it ourselves, we did it ourselves at the time, right? You memorize something for a test, and you don't see the sense in that test, for instance, and you don't know why you are doing that. And in School Beyond Limitations, for instance, we don't do that because we just want the creativity of our students to be always nurtured, to give them a lot of food for thought, food for spiritual growth.
One of the things I love about that, Martina, is that, and you do all this within the framework of the legislation and the regulation around education, so that it actually meets all the requirements, but you do it in a very different way. And this is what I love about limitations.
Well, the key message here is nothing has to be a limitation unless you made the choice to create a limitation, because you always, like you, Martina, has a capacity to look at, okay, if I choose something, what would I have to be and do to allow that to actualize? And that is very palpable in the way you creating the reality. From the good example, how you actually creating this school as a principal, that is a very amazing example to allow the school and the student and the parents to know already that all things are possible if you make that deliberate choice to make it so.
And particularly when you actually make use of all of the legislation, the regulation, the things that this reality or the system expects of you. And I think a lot of people think, there's rules, I have to follow the rules. No, what you've done is said, there's rules. How can I make them work for me?
Exactly. Exactly. Of course, we can't go, we have to take the framework seriously. We have to find solutions. And as you said, Chitisa and Stephen, it's a deliberate and conscious choice, right? What is out there? What is in front of me? How can I deal with that? And what possibilities can lead me anyway to achieving the goal, to achieving what we want to put into practice? And that also creates a lot of energy, because I'm focusing somehow towards what is, as you said, what is possible, and not what can't I do. Where are the problems, right? It's not about looking for problems. It's about looking at the situation as a situation without judging the situation as it is. It is a situation. It may not be very helpful in a specific moment, but this situation, what does this situation tell me? How can I proceed? And shall I proceed in that direction or in another direction? So it's about then adapting oneself to this specific requirement. And with regards what you said, Stephen, before, of course, we adhere to the educational framework, right? Because we want our students to achieve also potential degrees, right? Just in a different way. Exactly. It's in a different way. It's in a more personalized way, because we are all so different. And this is also what is one of our founding, let's say, mottos, that we are all unique. Each person is unique. And since each person is unique, we can, let's say, adapt the framework to each person in such a way that each person can take the best out of her or himself. And this is what we are doing and our mentors are doing. They're guiding their students into a space into an energetic space of enthusiasm, of motivation, that leads then to the intrinsic motivation in the student, and the student then actually comes up with ideas. Like
it's a possibility, isn't it, Martina? That's what we tend to talk about it, that Steve and I, when we're talking about Beyond Limitation, which I sense that's what you create, also a space of possibilities for children, because we are tend to train to follow the answer. We are trained to be trained in this reality that there is one right answer in everything. And the way you were talking about it is, what if there's not just one right answer, but there are multiple possibilities in every single situation? And from what you are demonstrating in the way you're creating this school is that, what if there is no problem? What if there are no, upheaval or problem? It's just something that presents yourself to see what other possibilities you are creating if you are not looking for one right answer. It's
and what a gift for the kids to see.
Exactly, Lisa. Exactly. Sorry, Stephen.
I said, what a gift for the kids to be able to see that as a possibility in this world.
Yeah. For instance, 2 days ago, there was one of our students who was so sad about the situation. He came across a number of months now that he saw a bird, in a cage in a animal shop, and he came into the lesson and said, I want to do something about it. This can't be possible, right? So out of that, they created as a group now an entire project. What could they do now in order to help animals to be set free and so forth? And they get into biology, they get into the idea of setting up their own organization and what they need. Yeah. So this is just about, capturing the sadness of a student. Why are you sad today? Right? And the mentor just asked, why are you not participating as such as normally? Yeah, I'm sad because I came across this situation. And out of that, this idea was born. Let's do something in more people, not only me, myself, but with other people in the classroom context. There were more people thinking alike. And so they put together, they brainstormed together, and they started now a small project that will develop into something bigger. So this is it. It's really about connecting the dots, the different dots, so that out of the dots, something new can be created.
I love how you give them space and freedom to connect the dots instead of trying to force them to say this is the way it is and nothing you could do about it. So that's amazing. That's wonderful.
Yeah, and that's anytime something like that happens, and it happens nearly on a daily basis, you see what can be reached and how children and students and teenagers can outgrow actually themselves. You see how they can blossom suddenly, and maybe a student who hasn't talked for a number of weeks suddenly starts to talk and brings in all his ideas or her ideas, and it's really giving space and just being in the energy of trust as well, because
so
sometimes
what do you do, Martina, and what do your mentors do to create that as a possibility? Because all it takes is a teacher or a mentor who won't see that as a possibility, and that may not be created within the school. So what is it that you've put in place so that this now becomes the way of being within the school?
Well, as I said before, we have a very, very strong emphasis on personal development. So we use also the framework of SEE. So Daniel Goleman and his staff. So there's a lot of emphasis on, on ethical work, on awareness, on compassion, on community engagement work and stuff like that. And we do that every day. And step by step, of course, we create this awareness, not only in our students, but basically in our mentors and ourselves, because we have to be the living example. So, and then we create this steadiness, right? This awareness of trust. So we can trust the process. So we give them space. And when there is an energy of trust, an energy of belief in our students, they perceive that, they get that, and they get also the interest that comes from the mentors, because the mentors are always very aware where the energy of their students go, and they take them then from where they are to to where they may want to go themselves. But of course, the mentor also helps them to open the space further.
So the other question that comes from that is the educational outcomes then, because one of the things that parents will always be looking for, and the kids to some extent themselves, is the quality of the education and the educational outcomes, and their ability then to, when they do their examinations, that they get good results. What have you got in place to actually not only provide the possibilities for the kids and the way of being in the world, but also the educational outcomes?
Well, we also engage with them on a one-to-one basis. And so they set themselves their goals. And if they have to reach, for instance, if they would like to undertake or are in the position of undertaking exams, then they do it themselves. They have already developed their motivation, intrinsic motivation, so that they start alongside their mentor, who helps them all the way through to actually put a plan into place, adhere to the plan, which has been how can I say that? Given by themselves. It's not been, introduced, imposed by the mentor. It's been guided towards that. And then for instance, we have now a student who is about to getting prepared for final examinations, and she put together all the planners from now to the end of the school year, and she actually has become already a self-directed learner. That's also something what we emphasize a lot, because learning is not only taking place while they are being in the classroom. We extend that into afterwards, beyond, because learning takes place everywhere. So if I'm enthusiastic about something, and if I have a goal that I actually choose myself to reach, then I'm motivated to do it. And then I'm motivated to share that also with the others and with a mentor. And that's so interesting. And also this girl, for instance, she really adheres to the self-imposed assignments she has to do, and they come to they also get trained or invited to actually ask for support if they need in certain areas, if they need support, right?
Very cool. That's right. Yeah.
Because
Very
then
cool.
she comes and says, in this specific area, I don't feel comfortable enough. I can do this by myself, and I just send in the assignments, and please. And then, of course, the mentors have a look at the assignments, they give feedback, and so forth.
Cool.
But
okay. So wait.
How can people contact you? I can see that maybe we should, when people hearing this and would like more information, maybe you should put some.
Is there a link that people can go to?
People can go and get more information from you?
Yes, they can. Wait, can I just add that? How do I do that here? It's school-beyond-limitations.com.
Okay.
I think once we post this into Facebook, maybe you can go in later and just add information on that.
Yeah.
As a link. So that would be
excellent. So I think we'll bring this to an end now, because that's been fantastic, Martina. This Beyond Limitations, and the School Beyond Limitations is a living example of where if you believe everything is possible, you can actually use the regulations and the rules of this world, but actually look at it from a different space and turn it into something that's even greater. So we are very, very honoured to be able to have a chat with you about the work that you're doing with School Beyond Limitations. Thank you very much, Martina.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Okay. Thanks, Martina.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.